I still believe in saving sex for marriage, but I believe that you can marry more than one if you so choose to, and God's completely fine with it. And biblically, I believe I can prove that. And I do think a lot of the things that you talk about, when you talk about the challenges that men and women face in dating and relationships, would be solved if men understood this, because there's a way to have variety, but there's a way to do it in a way that doesn't funk up the dating pool. Because that was one of the things you and I talked about, where I was like, I asked you if you believed in the golden rule. Or no, I said, you believe in, Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And you're like, yeah, that's just the golden rule. And I was like, okay, so how do you reconcile the golden rule with some of the things that you tell men to go out and spin plates and sleep with, don't wait, because the girl's going to fuck up alpha right away. So why should you wait? Which I understand, because from a personal standpoint, yes, because that's what's best for me. But collectively, it fucks it up more for everybody else, because it just contributes to the problem. So I think polygyny actually is a way to do both, because you can have variety, but you can also, you're going to protect and provide for that woman. Now, look, if she's a hoe, you might be wife number 4. You ain't going to be my one and only. You went out and gave it away to all these other dudes. I'm not going to give you my one and only ticket, golden ticket. You can be wife number 4. And I feel like this is a real practical way to clean up the dating pool. And I just love thoughts on that. I think you had somebody on your podcast recently that had multiple wives, I was told.
So there's a guy on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, Casey Jones, and I did a Zoom call with him. I didn't release it publicly on my channel, but I did put it on my email list. I don't know if you're on my email list and you saw it.
Somebody told me about it. I looked for it. I couldn't find it, so that makes sense.
Okay. If you want to see it, it's on my email list. It's cars.com/red-flag. So if you haven't got my book, you can download the free chapter of the book that way. And I don't know, it's probably like the 15th or 16th email in like the sequence, but it's in there. It's a 90-minute conversation. It's really interesting. So he lives in Australia. He's got 6 wives. He was also big in like the BDSM and Dom subs community and sex parties and all that sort of stuff. So he's probably got a notch count like in the hundreds or maybe even 1,000. He's not Christian. So yeah, I wanted to have a conversation with the guy because he says a lot of really compelling things on social media. And he DM'd me, we were chatting a bit, and he'd read my book and he expressed some gratitude for the stuff that I had done and a little bit of a hat tip. So we had the conversation. Polygyny is an interesting thing. I saw the video that you were talking about, the 5 reasons why men might want to contemplate polygyny. So there's nothing in there that I would argue. I think it's all reasonable and well thought out. But I think that we've got this problem. You've got a government problem to begin with, because they don't really want you to have multiple wives unless you're living in like Salt Lake City, Mormon type of country. You're going to have issues. For the most part in the West, most states and provinces prohibit multiple wives. Casey's had a lot of issues with the government in Australia. If I'm not mistaken, I think right now he's trying to clear his name on some other things that he's on trial for, the way he structured his life. But he seems to feel he set it up in such a way that it's pretty watertight. They're always going to attack you because it's not the norm. And I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious. I'm probably more agnostic than anything. But I don't think there's anything in the Bible that explicitly encourages polygyny. I think Islam encourages polygyny, which is considered the norm. You can have 4 wives, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, does it solve a lot of problems? Are you able to get variety, which is what men like? Like men do like variety. There's nothing, let's just be honest. Married men will see attractive women and just look at it and be like, that's hot. I'd like to be with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Women will drop 12 eggs a year. Men can make hundreds and hundreds of millions of sperm. Like you pointed out, you can knock up a whole bunch of women. Polygyny has been the norm for men throughout history. There's a Moroccan sultan, Ishmael the Bloodthirsty was his nickname or something like that. He had over 1,000 kids, several wives, multiple concubines. The concubines were all retired around the age of 30, and he would take on new concubines. He had the concubines guarded and protected by eunuchs, so he would basically sterilize men to protect his harem of women. There's no time in history where women ever did this. You'll always see some bullshit in the comments for someone that says, if men can do it, why can't women do it too? And it's like, no. That's not the way that it works. That women don't operate in that sense. There's no prolific women throughout it. What about Cleopatra? No, that's not how it worked back then. Study history. So it seems to be like the natural order for highly successful, competent, resourceful, interesting, influential men throughout history. It's always been that way. And I think you'll see that it's always going to be that way. And even in society today, like the reason why we've got rampant promiscuity is because the vast majority of women are sharing the highest value men that are out there today. Like a guy that's making well into 6 figures, that's tall, handsome, competent, he's got combat skills, he's interesting, good social network, he's got a compelling life. Women will share him. It's the reason why women will prefer to date a married guy than a nerd that lives in his mom's basement that makes $30,000 a year playing video games with his spare time. So it is in the natural order of things. That being said, I think it's hard to execute in Western countries. Like I said, the government doesn't like it, the state doesn't like it, society doesn't like it. It's not considered the norm. Most women don't really roll with it. They want to own you. The thing with women is, yes, they'll share a high value alpha. Do they like it? Not really. Would they prefer to have you locked down to themselves? Yes, because the reason why women get jealous is because they're afraid that they're going to lose your attention, your resources, and your love, but more so like your attention, your resources. Like when men step out and cheat, it's just exercise for guys. A lot of dudes can just go and bang and just forget about it. It's what men are capable of. But when women cheat, they use the lens in which they operate when they step out on a committed relationship, because when they cheat, it's usually because it's over, right? It's usually because they're trying to find a way out. It's usually because they've fallen in love with the guy. They've shared her body with the guy. She's looking to leave that relationship and move into the new one. So when a woman sees a guy step out, she's using her vision to reconcile why that happens. And she knows that when she's done it or her friends have done it, it's because they've fallen in love. Men can legit have sex with women and not fall in love with them. But women really can't do that, especially if they're in a committed relationship. It's difficult for them to have multiple guys sexually.
If you're a single Christian man who wants to be in a long-term patriarchal relationship with the possibility of it being a plural marriage at some point, I created a program exclusively for professional Christian men like yourself to help you find and keep a high-value Christian woman for life. There's a application pinned in the link in the comments. Go ahead and fill that out and we'll schedule a call. I look forward to speaking with you.
On the dating marketplace today, with promiscuity being so rampant, it's pretty common for women to go from guy to guy. They'll just hop off one dick to another and they'll do it for years. They say that the woman's 20s is the most promiscuous time in their life. In fact, Casey Jones made an interesting argument. He said, I think all women go through a hoe phase. I don't think that you're going to be able to protect or set barriers or boundaries around women. And women will sell purity. They'll sell this notion of the idea that they're pure, that they're perhaps virgins, or maybe not have shared their body with a bunch of guys. They might say their notch count's low. But the truth of the matter is all women have skeletons in their closet. Some women have a graveyard. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with polygyny. I don't think it's widely accepted, and I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for you, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it's going to be a struggle. You said a lot there. I want to unpack a little bit of that. First off, before I do that, everybody go join Rich's email list. I'm going to do that, entrepreneursandcars.com, and then you can check out that interview with Casey. But also,
/red-flags.
Yeah. Also, if you're a Christian out there, I want you to pray for Rich's salvation, because I'm serious, Rich. I want you to meet Jesus. He changed my life. Yeah, dude, I'd love to have you on the team. We could do so much damage.
I would contemplate joining a religious team if religious teams were more coherent, consistent, and strong in their messaging. There's too many holes in it for me, which is why I'm more agnostic.
Yeah, you could do that though. Look, there's a guy named Mark Driscoll out there as a pastor. He pretty much shoots it straight. He gets a little weak with he's a monogamy only guy too, but for the most part, he's an alpha, and he doesn't cusses sometimes from stage. There's a guy named Pastor James Dow down in Tennessee. He runs this thing called Straightway Church. Some people say it's a cult, but he's definitely an alpha, and he's a polygamist also. But anyway, I just think you do a lot of good for Jesus if you were on this team. And he's the truth. I understand the way he's been packaged and presented isn't the most attractive. I think that's why a lot of people actually are converting to Islam these days, because we don't stick by anything as Christians. But yeah, so pray for Rich's salvation, that God reveals himself to Rich. No, but you said women don't want it, right? And I was listening to your book again for the second time the other day, and you talked about how don't move in with an LTR because our competition anxiety relaxes. I'm like, that's exactly what happens in monogamy only. Because when a woman, even if you never exercise the right, you just tell your woman, listen, I believe that it is my biblical right to have more than one wife if I so choose, and you never even do it. You just tell her, and she might not like it, but really, does she like it? Yes, because what happens is they say they want monogamy, yet 85% of the time when they get into a monogamous only marriage, they file for divorce. It's like, you say you don't want gravity. Who would want gravity if someone described gravity to you? Like, what? Some force that makes it harder for me to stand up and walk around? No, let's have weightlessness. But then when you got it, of course, your muscles would deteriorate and everything else. So like women they say they don't want it. No way should a man have the right to polygyny. But actually, because of this competition anxiety and probably a lot of other reasons, they really do want it. It arouses them, actually. What do you think about that?
Yeah, women want a guy that other women want. I said that in the book. There's a funny bit by Patrice O'Neill, a stand-up comedy. So if you haven't seen his bit on the fishing boat, I would go look it up afterwards, because he talks about how he would get a fishing boat, he would go fishing, and he would catch fish, and he would take a picture of it, and he would release it. And so at some point, the fish just jumps back on the boat. And so what are we? Like, where do we stand? And most guys will get into a relationship at some point with a gal if she pursues him and she's hot and she does nice things for him. He'll go for it. But then she wants you to get rid of the fishing boat. And the truth of the matter is for her to be interested in you and for her to be attracted to you, you got to smell like fish a little bit. She's got to know that you can still catch fish.
Yeah.
But it's a weird dynamic that women have such a strong demand. And I think it's more cultural and societal and everything that's been hammered in their head through marketing and Hollywood, and even most religions today, especially most Western, will sell the narrative of one man, one woman, monogamy into perpetuity. And like I talked about in the chapter in my book about promiscuous primates, humans really aren't very good at monogamy. We suck at it. Everything that sort of leads to the constraint of men's options often leads to the pussification of the male. He becomes softer, becomes weaker, becomes less attractive. more agreeable. That's when you start hearing stuff like happy wife, happy life. And then at some point later on down the road, they stop with the sexual intimacy and she stops being that interested in him. It's a problem. There's no hard and fast rule. I think it's a good idea if you want to have kids to have the man and the woman, or man and several women. If that's the case that you want to tackle it from, you can certainly have a shitload of kids that way. The guy that's had the most kids has been well over 1,000. The most productive woman, I think it was like in the high 50s or something like that, which is like a ridiculous number as far as the Guinness book goes. But that's only because she had multiple quadruplets and twins and triplets. She's basically pregnant from start of fertility to the end of her, until she hit like menopause. But men can have far more children with multiple women than a woman can have with multiple men. She can have one baby a year. That's it, basically, in most cases. So yeah, I get it. Like, I see what you're doing and I get what you're trying to put together, and I wish you the best of luck with it. But it's an uphill battle, the way that society constructs religion, and most women out there don't go for it. And then the other problem that you have too is most women suck for wife material. We've talked about this before too. Like, you're going to have a hard time finding a good candidate that can pair bond to you in a monogamous way over a long period of time. Because let's be honest, we're okay with having multiple women, but most like high value guys, we don't want our women to be shared with other guys. Like, that would disgust us. And in many cases, it's grounds for terminating that relationship. You step out, the door's over there, it's unlocked, get out. We'll see you later thing. That's how a strong guy would typically handle it. But it's, hey man, I want to hear how this adventure unfolds for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned about the Bible, like, we don't know if there's any clear verses. There actually are some verses. The strongest verse for polygyny, I would say, is there in the law of Moses. It says if a man seduces a virgin to have sexual relations with her, he must marry her. Okay, so basically you fuck her, she's yours, right? That's what it says.
But what if she's not a virgin?
You break it, you buy it. Well, it's not now. But the thing is, the law in the West has made it impossible to obey God's law. So people say, what's against the law? I'm like, look, you have to obey the law to the point that it doesn't contradict God's law. So if they tell you to bow down to a golden idol, I'm going to be like, fuck you. I'm not. I worship God and God alone. I'm not going to obey this law no more than Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego should have bowed down to that idol. But they've made it impossible, because it doesn't say if you're not married, you have to. No, it says if you fuck her, you marry her, because now you've lowered her chances of not only finding, back then especially, of finding a husband, but also a woman's chance for divorce goes up exponentially with each partner that she sleeps with.
Right.
So that would fix a lot. So like just that right there. And in addition to, there's many other verses, but God said to David, I gave you your wives. Why'd you go out and take this other dude's wives? I would have given you more if you just asked. And he had 18 wives. God's not going to give you something simple. So there's a lot of biblical evidence. Even Jesus compared himself to a polygamist in the parable of the 10 virgins. He basically took 5 virgins into the marriage chamber that were ready, and compared it to when he's coming back. But he wouldn't have done that if it was a sin. So I would actually, I don't know if you would have me on, but I'm sure there's Christian men that follow you that don't know this. They've never heard it. And I think it would be life-changing for them. They're trying to play this game under rules that have been changed. And we wonder why the church sets men up for, these men fail repeatedly, and we wonder why they fail. Why a Christian woman will go out and date an unbeliever, or she'll go out and she'll fornicate, because there's not enough Christian men for them to marry. There's nothing worse for society than a bunch of single women running around that can't find a husband. Because what do? They fornicate, they make babies, fatherless homes, and then the society collapses because you got all the challenges that kids without fathers.
If you enjoyed this clip and you want to watch another, click here. If you want to watch the full episode, click here. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video.